Good afternoon and happy International Women's Day to every single one of you. On behalf of the Erie Otters, I'm thrilled to have you all in attendance for today's Women in Hockey webinar. Being able to host this webinar alongside some of my favorite women in hockey from across so many different titles and roles is truly an honor. And I hope today serves not only as an opportunity to learn, but an opportunity to be inspired and motivated on your journeys as women in sport. Just as a real quick note, you may recall that Susie Cool from the Rochester Americans was going to join us today. Unfortunately, due to our postponement from yesterday and her prior engagements, she will not be with us today. I have had the pleasure of nearly working my entire time in sport and in hockey alongside some amazing women, again, of all roles and positions. And I've been so inspired by the stories of trails blazed and the differences made in what has unfortunately been an industry made up of people who look a lot like me. I'm thrilled that we can have conversations and events like today to change, the narrative and continue the necessity and vital work of what sports should look like and can look like. Speaking just for the Erie Otters organization, our team has always been one that hopes to be at the forefront of diversity, inclusivity, and equality for people of all genders, race, and backgrounds. And with that, we've had the pleasure of wonderful women who have been leaders and key members of our team for nearly the entire 25 years we've been around. To start things off today, you'll hear from our most tenured employee of the Erie Otters, a woman who started as an intern and has found her way through a variety of positions to be here today as vice president and assistant general manager. Without any further delay, my boss, Jaime Cieszynski.
Thank you, Sean. You just told everybody how old I am, but that's okay. Welcome, everyone. It's so great that you took time out of your lunch hour to join us. And as Sean said, happy International Women's Day. I think representation is truly important in the workplace and in every aspect of your life, but most importantly in your workplace, because you do spend so much time there, especially in the field of sport, where it is definitely a lot of hours and a lot of time, whether you're working in day-to-day operations or in a sport with game nights such as us. We always say that we spend more time with our work family than our own family and friends. So it's important that your organization, wherever you choose to work, is a representation of the people that you want to be surrounded by and that you develop those relationships, because it's so important in your everyday happiness, because that's what really gives you the work-life balance that is so important. So a little bit about me. As Sean said, I started as an intern in between my sophomore and junior years here at university. I was looking for an internship because those things were so important even back then. And I had two opportunities. One was selling newspaper. Yes, people actually did that for a job. That's how old I am. Or this opportunity here at the Otters in a marketing or advertising role. That was my major at university, was advertising communications. And so I took a leap of faith because I didn't want to be driving around trying to sell newspaper ads every day. And the very first day of orientation, we hit the ground running. And since then, it's been opportunities presented to me and probably taken by me that maybe weren't mine to take, that I think is really what got me here today. It was making sure that I was always in the conversation. We've always been in this organization inclusive with our interns or part-time staff, with being in meetings and going to events and really being included from day one. And I think that is very important, because I don't think your title necessarily matters or is indicative of your worth in an organization. And if you're given those opportunities, it's so important to take a hold of them and make them worthwhile, because you never know when they will pay dividends in the future for you. So I just have a few key takeaways of what got me here today that I think will be important for you in the long run. The first, as we already hit upon, is organizational support. It's so important to be in an organization that values you as a person, as a female, and your contributions to that organization. So important that even just this morning, our owner sent all of the ladies on our call today just an email telling us how much we're appreciated. And that reinforcement is so important because you feel that, and that's what makes you comfortable, and that what makes you want to strive and do good for your organization. And that's recognition. You have to work hard. Just because you get an opportunity doesn't mean that the journey ends there and you're just given an opportunity. You have to work hard. You have to put in the hours. You have to do your job. But I think it's also important to know how to do the jobs around you, because that will make you indispensable and will make you somebody that people in your organization come to you for advice or information. So your job title doesn't matter, and it shouldn't matter to you. It's the knowledge that you're getting in your job, whether that's learning how to update your website or learning how to do stats, because you want to be the person that your teammates rely upon and come to you when they have difficulties. And the more you pick up from those around you, the more invaluable you will be. As I said, we always have the opportunity to go to events or to interact with our sponsors, our clients, or our players and their families. It's so important to remember names, who the person works for, what they do in that organization, and how they tie into your organization. And maybe being from a little bit of a smaller organization, that was easier for me to make those connections. But those connections in the long run are what will either get you an opportunity within your organization or as you're about to take the next step, because you always need to differentiate yourself. And the more people that you can rely upon for a reference or to call and say, hey, I'm looking for an opportunity. Can you help me? That is so important, especially in sport, because yes, it's what you know and how you do your job, but it's so much of who you know. You need to be confident. You need to know that you deserve to be in the room that you're in, regardless of what your organization is, what your title is. You need to be confident. You may be faking it, but you need to be confident and exude that. And you need to know that you deserve to be there, that you weren't just hired because you're a woman or because of what's on your resume. It's because of what you can do for the organization that you're with. And that confidence can get you through a lot of situations where maybe you don't know what you're doing or you need help. And that confidence in yourself will allow you more and more opportunities. You need to also know that there will be misconceptions about you, why you're working in sport. And that is 100% not fair, and it's not right, but it's also reality. So unfortunately, that's something that we've all probably had to face at one time or another. But it's also up to us to change that in our work ethic, in our day-to-day responsibilities, and how we carry ourselves and how we just do our jobs and we interact with our coworkers. That's when you'll stop being looked at as a female and just as a valuable part of the organization, but it will be something that's always there and in the background. You also have to be tenacious and always strive for more. And I will leave it there, because if you're tenacious and you go after the opportunities that are presented to you or become available in your organization, that's how you grow. That's how you get to go from an intern to where I am today. I don't necessarily feel that I've necessarily grown or changed that much, but I've taken advantage of opportunities that have been presented. So be tenacious, be confident, be passionate, and be indispensable. And good luck to all of you.
Well said, Jaime. Jaime was one of the folks that interviewed me when I was in the process with the Otters, and obviously the way that she speaks about this organization and her vision are a huge part of why I wanted to be here with the Otters. Another reason was, of course, the amazing people that work here, including our next speaker, Jaime's partner in crime, the mastermind of the Otters Den, and one of the most positive people I've ever worked with, our senior retention and merchandise manager, Darcy Giebel.
Thanks, Sean. And thank you again for putting this together. I think it really is a great tool for the women on this call, and hopefully other people watch the recording later. So as Sean said, I'm the Senior Retention Manager and Merchandise Manager. I have been with the team now for 9 years. Like Jaime, I started out as an intern in January of 2013 and was lucky enough to be hired on full-time immediately after that. I was very blessed to have a job in my field lined up at graduation time. So cannot thank the team enough for seeing my potential. My day-to-day operations really vary because it is sports, but also because I am the main face-to-face contact for most of our customers that come through the store. We do push everyone through the store instead of coming to the office, just makes it easier. So day-to-day regularly helping season ticket members exchange tickets or any other needs they may have, whether it's email, on the phone, or in person. Also constantly researching merchandise. Like any other aspect in sports, we do look at what other teams, not just in hockey, but all other sport fields are doing. So I'll constantly look at other teams' websites to see popular items that they have and kind of get some ideas for my own. I'm also getting new merchandise in pretty frequently, especially having the store and sales going so well as this first year with it. So I will be retagging, getting new product out on the floor, as well as setting it up for the online store and fulfilling online orders. Because it is minor league sports, we all wear many hats. Another area that I'm in charge of is the donation requests. So we get online order or online forms submitted there, fulfill any of those for the local community, because we do really pride ourselves in giving back to the Erie community. I also schedule the game night staff, and that kind of covers it for the most part. With all of that, I do recommend that you come into this with an open mind and you're very flexible, especially with minor league. So many things can be last minute because we just think of a new idea that'll really put us over the edge. And we also wear many hats, like I said before, so you can't come in hoping to get into one niche and just stick with that job. You really have to be able to help out other areas, and hopefully that'll help you become well-rounded. When I was growing up, I didn't intend on being in sports. I think part of that is because I didn't know any women in sports to look up to. My first job I can remember wanting to do was to be a teacher, and that's mainly because my mom was a teacher. So I think breaking out and shedding some light on the women in sports is only going to help the future generations. So we're definitely onto something here. But I did start out at Kent State in fashion merchandising, which is kind of fitting now, given my role. But it was not my field at all. Too cutthroat, too stuffy. So I had other friends in the sports field. So I decided to switch that. Sophomore year, I changed majors. From there, I even transferred and went locally to Edinburgh. And advice I always give to anyone looking to get into the sports is to research the school that you're going to. Look at their programs, see what they have to offer, maybe talk to someone taking those classes, because I'm not going to say I regret going to Edinburgh because it still got me where I am today, but their program was not ideal. It was geared a lot towards gym teachers and physical education. So that is definitely advice that I always give out. Obviously, the internships are super important. Without that, I would not be where I am today. And I feel that that has helped me grow and really find where I wanted to do in my professional career more than any class could have. I think a lot of that speaks for itself on that part. And then I never felt that I was treated differently coming into a sports industry. And I even felt that in my college courses, there were other women there. So I never had that preconceived notion going in, which I think helped me. I still just came in and acted like I belonged here because I clearly did, as I showed my worth as an intern and got hired on. So the team saw something in me. But the confidence, as Jaime mentioned, that's going to carry you through a lot of things in life in general, but definitely here. I don't want you to think that because you're a woman, you don't belong here. Like as you can see by all the women on this call, definitely a spot for us in this industry. And we definitely deserve to be here more than some people at times. The only time I felt that I get treated as a lady is just when it comes time to take the trash out in the office, and the guys will step in and be like, no, we'll take that. And I think that's more of a chivalry act than a male dominance. So it might just be this organization, but I've never felt out of place or felt different. I do want to attribute a lot of this to Jaime. She's always held a high managerial role in this organization. So to me, I've known no different. Jaime has been a role model and definitely helped shape me into the professional I am today. So kudos to you. But I think that's all I have for you, ladies.
Well, thank you, Darcy. Darcy has been such a positive, consistent face for our organization. And anyone who knows the Otters not only knows, but loves Darcy. The same can be said about our next speaker, who has worked her way as a broadcaster, in-game host, digital content creator on radio, in baseball, basketball, and now again back in hockey with the Arizona Coyotes as manager of corporate activations, one of my favorite people in the world, Haleigh VanOchten.
Okay, Sean, you are much too kind. Thank you for the intro. Sean hyped me up for way more than I am, but I appreciate the hype. Just a little background. So I was lucky enough to go to college with Sean, went to Central Michigan University. So I started out working on the hockey team together. So we got to do some fun trips together. And from there, I graduated college. I was actually a news reporter for a year. And now I'm in corporate activation. So just one of those things where you can switch your career if it's not the path you went to school for. From there, I worked in the Ontario Hockey League, so minor league hockey, worked in the single A affiliate of the Los Angeles Dodgers. So talk about, like Darcy said, when you're in minor leagues, you're wearing so many different hats, you're helping out as much as you can. So I really focused in on that. And then after my last season with the single A affiliate of the Dodgers, I kind of took a leap of faith and moved all the way to California, working for the Santa Cruz Warriors, so G League of the Golden State Warriors. Didn't know much about basketball, knew it would be great on a resume. I really wanted to grow and just be really well-rounded in sports. So I was in the Bay Area for about a year and a half. And then as Sean knows how much I love hockey and being a Michigan girl, I was lucky enough that the Arizona Coyotes had a role open. It was a perfect fit for me. So I made the transition here, and I've been here just about a year, coming up on a year. So I think just me as a whole and just advice going through general, it's okay to make the leap of faith. Like I honestly moved to California because I wanted to grow my career in sports. I didn't know a single soul. And I was just kind of doing it by myself. But I think those opportunities, when you can take them and you have the financial means to be able to do it. And you have I have a very supportive family. Those are one of those things that you just take the jump and you go, because if I wouldn't have gone to California, I probably wouldn't have my role that I have with the Coyotes right now. So it's one of those things, your career can change, your role can change, but at the end of the day, if you get to where, I love coming to work every day for the Coyotes. And so being in basketball helped me grow. Here I am with the Coyotes. And it's awesome. And I feel, one, I'm lucky enough to be on this. So thank you, Sean, for asking me. But it's nice to be in an organization like the Coyotes. We actually have one of the biggest women's staff in the NHL. So we have a lot of support here. It's super nice. I'm in a great culture. And I think that's what's really important too. When I was going through my jobs, I wanted a good culture and to be around supportive women. And there are those women in sports, which is always a good reminder. I just feel sometimes going through some jobs, some transitions, you get stuck with people who may look beyond you because you're a woman. And I think a big part is that you can stand with the crowd. And I always joke with some of the guys I work with, I can do my job and I can do your job better as well. So it's really nice how much the sports world is more inclusive to women, especially being in the NHL and having so many supportive women. My vice president's a woman, my director is a woman. So it's really exciting how much women are growing in sports. But yeah, if you guys have any questions later, happy to answer. But thank you so much for having me be a part of it. I appreciate you guys.
Thank you, Haleigh. Her story is one that inspires me a ton as a sports professional. And obviously the opportunity to create new opportunities is definition of terrific stuff. Inspiration for so many is a key for our next speaker. A trailblazer in the Ontario Hockey League as the first female scout in league history who created the opportunity through relentless tenacity and a drive to succeed. I'm happy to introduce now our U15 Bantam scout, Kiana Scott.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kiana Scott. I'm 22 years old and I'm from Barrie, Ontario. I'm a U15 scout with the Erie Otters of the Ontario Hockey League. My role consists of evaluating young, talented teens from the ages 13 and 14 in Ontario. I cover 4 different leagues, the GTHL, ETA, SCTA, and Alliance. The U15 level is a year before the draft year. My work helps prepare my fellow U16 scouts for their upcoming draft season. My day-to-day life doesn't really look like most. Scouting consists of lots of late nights, early mornings, and countless hours on the road. I strategically plan out my games for the month, how long it will take travel-wise, and making sure I cover all my teams. I attend multiple tournaments in a season, often spending 12-hour days for multiple days. At the end of a typical day behind the scenes, I write reports on individual players. I first fell in love with the game of hockey at a young age, starting my playing career at 9 years old. After my playing career was over, I wanted to pursue a career in the business side of hockey, but wasn't really sure how to do it. I started off in the industry as a games day intern for a local team when I was 13 years old, and I stumbled upon scouting at the age of 17. I started scouting at a training camp every summer, and it quickly progressed into a deep passion for evaluating. I was told that I had an eye for talent. At 18, my journey began with taking a scouting and general manager course with Sports Management Worldwide and attending the International Scouting Service Mentorship Program. I attended the mentorship program, scouting a wide variety of different levels and age groups: U15, U16, U18, Junior A, Junior C, and even in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League. One day I was on the road. I attended 3 different games at 3 different rinks, and Dave Brown and Scott Grieve saw me at all 3 games. And they kept seeing me over the course of the season and admired my work ethic and drive. I was hired by the Erie Otters in March 2020. Little did we both know that we were making history together when I became the first female OHL scout. And now I'm in my 2nd year with the Erie Otters. The advice that I would give young women starting off into the industry is more internal advice. In order to be a successful woman in sports, you have to have thick skin, which is something I learned very early on in my career and had to decide at 17 whether or not I could handle being in a male-dominated industry. Hockey is a male-dominated industry, and with that comes many obstacles. You endure situations that your male counterparts probably have never had to deal with and figure out solutions for. You need to remember why you love the game, why you're passionate about your job, and keep your head held high because you deserve to have a seat in that boardroom. You deserve to be in the position you are, and most importantly, you deserve to be listened to and have the respect when you're talking. Not everything was rainbows and sunshine, like you see in the articles that were written about me. I was told no. I was told that I should pick a more realistic career. I was told that I didn't look like a scout. But every time I was told no, I made a new plan and executed it. Every time that I was told to pick something more realistic, I chose to learn to listen to myself and ended up making my dream a reality. And every time I looked in the mirror, all I could see was a scout. No dream is impossible, and believe in yourself. Have the confidence to never want to prove someone wrong, but prove yourself right. Own it, invest in yourself, and never give up on something that you can't stop thinking about. To be a successful woman in hockey, you need to be determined, resilient, and fearless. It feels absolutely amazing to represent women in hockey. Becoming the first female OHL scout, I hope that I'm just the start of many young women wanting to step into a role like myself. I'm glad I can be a role model for young females and females of color as well. Some memorable moments with Erie so far have been the 2020 and 2021 draft as we approach my 3rd in April. In 2021, I made the Athletics 40 under 40 list. I was named in Sportsnet's 25 Most Powerful Women in Hockey, and most recently I was included in the Hockey News 20 Women Making Black History in Hockey. Tonight will be my 93rd game of the season, which is the most games I've ever scouted in one season, and I still have a lot of hockey left. But my most memorable moment hasn't happened yet. It will be when I celebrate all my championships with my team and see the boys host the cup. Thank you so much, Sean, for having me on here, and all of the amazing women on here. Happy International Women's Day.
Thank you, Kiana, and thank you for sharing your story. Story sharing and storytelling is the most vital role of our next speaker, who oversees the critical role of maintaining all of our social media accounts, the content provided, the calendar in which it comes out, and is in charge of marketing all of our games and our organization as a whole. A fellow rookie with me, Otters Digital Marketing Manager, Haleigh Giebel.
Thank you, Sean. Hello, everyone. As Sean said, my name is Haleigh, and I'm the Digital Marketing Manager for the Erie Otters. This is my first season in that role, and it's just been absolutely amazing so far. I'm a native of Erie and grew up coming to Otters games with my family, so it was kind of a dream since I was little to work at some capacity with the Erie Otters. I went to Mercyhurst University, which is in Erie, for undergrad and grad school. And during that time is kind of when I began into the sport industry. So I worked with the men's hockey team at Mercyhurst, an NCAA Division I team, for 4 years as their intern, doing their social media, their marketing, their game night stuff, just anything that I could do just to get my name out there. That was a really great experience, which ended up leading to a graduate assistantship for grad school, allowing me to continue my studies in the sport industry while going to school for free and working with some other teams in the athletic department. So during that time, I was in charge of 11 sports, including our NCAA Division I women's hockey team, where I was able to travel with them all year and cover them to a conference championship, which is probably my favorite memory thus far, working in the sport industry. After I graduated with my master's, Mercyhurst asked me to come back for a new role of the Director of Social Media and Digital Content. And in that role, I was in charge of all 26 sports social media accounts and the main social media account of Mercyhurst. So there was points where I had 4 computers on my desk and I was watching 4 different games, tweeting on 4 different social media accounts, making graphics and things like that. And it was hard at the time, but looking back on it, I would not be where I am without that. It helped coming into the Otters, where I'm in charge, like Sean said, of social media. I'm in charge of the digital marketing stuff. I am in charge of our game night staff, for promo crew, our mascot, our junior starter, our blimp crew. So game days can be a bit stressful, but because of having to work with 26 sports, a lot of times 11 at once, that really helped me and able to kind of just breathe and get through it. So I would say my advice to anyone that wants to get into the sport industry is to just work hard. I don't mean this in the bad way, but don't take being a woman as an excuse. No matter who you are, male or female, you're going to have to work hard and have a good work ethic. And so if you work hard, and like Jaime said, if you just put yourself out there and try to learn everything you can, you're going to get those opportunities. They're going to come to you and you're going to be able to succeed in those. And also learn how to take constructive criticism. That's one thing when I first started is people would give me constructive criticism and I would get down on myself. But I learned that if you don't have that, you're not going to grow. And it's because of that constructive criticism that I am where I am today. Also being a woman in the sport industry, and specifically hockey, is great. And I'm glad that we have places like the Arizona Coyotes that have most of their staff as, women, which is super awesome. In the Erie Otters, Jaime, Darcy, they can all say, even Sean can say that we have the same exact opportunities that our men have here in the front office. So you'll find opportunities and you'll get into really good organizations. And if you are in an organization, just start out that isn't, as supportive, just keep working hard, keep working at it, and prove that you need to be there and that you deserve to be there. And those opportunities will keep coming and you'll show them what you're made of.
Thank you, Haleigh. Haleigh works so very hard, and it's been such a pleasure to work alongside her in our media department. When it comes to sports, as you've heard and as you already know, wearing many hats is at times just part of the job. I would argue that few know more about the necessity of being implaceable and ready to jump into new roles and responsibilities than our next speaker. She started off as the Director of Corporate Partnerships for the Southern Professional Hockey League's Macon Mayhem, but has overseen the team's social media, communications, finances, and now has earned her position as the Assistant General Manager of the organization. One of the most patient and hardworking people that I know. Please welcome Anna Marie Summers. Oh, make sure I'll pin first. There we go.
There we go. Thank you, Sean. Also, thank you for the kind words. As Sean mentioned, I am Anna Marie Summers with the Macon Mayhem hockey team. We are in the SPHL. I started out with this team as the Director of Corporate Relations straight from college. In college, I went to Mercer University here in Macon, Georgia. Growing up in Savannah, I had to get away from home. So I came to Macon, where it's a little bit close, but a little bit far at the same time. Coming to Macon for college, I immediately fell in love and wanted to stay here and knew I wanted to start my career here in Macon. While I was in school, I interned in the summers with Savannah Bananas, the collegiate baseball team. And then in the school year, I was with the Mercer Athletics department. So I managed all of the baseball team's marketing, on-site partnership activation for basketball, football, lacrosse, baseball, pretty much all of them. And then from there, I took my first job outside of college and I ended up in hockey. Did I know anything about hockey? No, but was I willing to learn? Yes. So here I, as he mentioned, started out as Director of Corporate Relations. From there, I taught myself graphics through YouTube and then went from taking on graphics to taking on social media and pretty much all marketing, community outreach, community events. And then from there, finances, and now the Assistant General Manager of the team. But I would not be here without all the different characteristics that these ladies have talked about. The willingness to wear many hats, the willingness to know compassion for other people. If you see the other person struggling on a game day, you immediately step in, help them out, take over where they are just to help them complete the task to get them there. As all of you ladies soon to enter sports or entering the sports world, you will learn that game days are pretty hectic. So if you have the ability to kind of jump in and help others out, that's always big. My takeaways for y'all today. The biggest thing that I had to learn coming into professional hockey is to stand up for yourself. Don't be scared ever. Yes, this is a male-dominant world that we are in, and I'm the only female in this organization, but also one of the only females in this building total. So you have to learn to stand up for yourself and don't be scared. Just because you've got a room full of men in front of you, it doesn't mean nothing. That you are you, and they need to know that they need to know your position as well and respect your position and where you are. Always be open-minded and willing. So always be willing to learn. Always have an open mind when entering any atmosphere that you are in. As many people have said, the ability to wear many, many hats. Let's see, grow yourself. So grow yourself in your internships and grow yourself within your relationships that you create with people through those internships or through your school clubs or your school atmospheres that you're a part of. use those relationships, maintain those relationships to help you grow in your career. I would not have my job with Macon Mayhem if I had not joined the Sports Marketing and Analytics Club at Mercer University. We had a guy come in. It was actually the guy who took his position. But Colin Mitchell came and spoke to our club and told us all the characteristics of hockey. And I was like, growing in the South, I don't know anything about it. Let's take that jump. And so I went and applied, but because I made that connection with Colin Mitchell that night, it automatically kind of gave me a little bit of an insight into the organization, but introduced me to someone personal that was actually one of the ones that interviewed me later on. So maintain those relationships. And then I think that's it.
Thank you, Anna Marie. It's always a pleasure to hear from you, and hope things are well down in Macon, Georgia. Closing things off for our speaker series is the youngest speaker of the day, but many years her senior in her drive and passion for the world of hockey and the world of broadcasting. I've had the pleasure of working alongside her this whole season, serving as the host of the Otters Radio Network. Please welcome one of the OHL's lone female broadcast voices, Hannah Hill.
Well, thank you, Sean, for inviting me today to hear everyone's journeys. It's been great. So kind of like Sean said, I'm a current intern for the Erie Otters. I serve as the on-the-road intermission reporter host. And for my intermission, I basically cover what's going on around the OHL that night, the scoreboard, what both teams need to work on. And then my personal favorite, I love to kind of catch up what Otters alumni are up to. I'm from Tampa, Florida, and there are quite a few alumni on the Lightning, those players being Anthony Cirelli, Eric Chernak, Taylor Radish. And I love to highlight what some of those players are up to. And there's tons of other players around the NHL. And I just think it's so fun to cover what those players are up to. And I'm a huge Otters fan before I got this role. And I remember watching big players, like Dylan Strome back in the day. And it's so fun to be able to kind of see what they're up to. Prior to the Otters, I freelanced the Tampa Bay Lightning. I started to make pregame and game recaps during the 2020 playoffs, and that was when COVID was probably at its highest and it was really bad. So I covered majority of the teams that were in the playoffs, but focused majority on the Lightning since that was my local team. By freelancing the Lightning, I was able to cover back-to-back Stanley Cup championships, and that's honestly something that I treasure a lot. Not a lot of people can say that. Besides freelancing the Lightning, I also covered 2 Super Bowls every year. My school, I go to Emerson College in Boston. They send broadcast students to the Super Bowl for Media Week. Due to the pandemic in 2021, the school couldn't send any students to the game. But since I was local to the Tampa Bay area, I asked to cover it, and thankfully I was able to. And I basically just interviewed fans from both sides to see kind of like what they thought about the matchup. And that was a lot of fun. I also was selected this year to go, but due to the surge of COVID, they made everything online, but I took advantage of the opportunity and I went to all the Zooms and I wrote a couple articles, and it was a ton of fun and I loved it. As for advice, I'm still learning myself since I'm still in school, but I would just say reach out. My role wasn't really a thing before I reached out to Sean. I saw that they only had in-person internships. And so I was like, okay, I'm just going to shoot my shot, see if they have anything. And luckily we talked on the phone like the next day, and you just got to reach out. I would say work really hard. There are times where, I feel stuck sometimes, but Sean really helps kind of work it out for me and helps me when I'm stuck. And I'm really thankful that the Otters are such a great organization where I feel very comfortable, especially since this is my first season working for like an actual team besides like freelancing a team. So I love it.
Thank you, Hannah, and thank you to all 7 of these amazing ladies for telling their story, their roles, and their journeys. Each of you are inspirations to me, and I'm thrilled to work with or alongside you. Now that you've heard from them, we want to hear from you, and we're going to open it up to a Q&A portion for our panel. If you have questions, you can add them into the chat, or you can ask to be unmuted and ask the ladies yourself, and we'll make sure to have your question answered. Just to get the ball rolling while questions are submitted, we'll start things off with a few questions that were submitted from people who are not able to make it here today. First one is one that I'm genuinely curious about. What mistakes have you guys, or did you guys make early in your career?
I'll go ahead, Sean. So now one mistake comes to mind because I am constantly making mistakes. Just things with ordering, as the office will be able to tell you. So it's nothing that really hindered my career, but I did want to chime in on this because our general manager, Dave Brown, has a quote that if you're not failing, you're not trying. So whether it's your professional career or in life, you need to get the fear of failing out of your head. You can't be afraid to try new things, especially in sports. We're always trying to stand out from other teams. So if you have an idea, bring it to the team. Don't feel like it's a silly idea, because I've spoken up in meetings before thinking like this is never going to work, and it turns out great. On the reverse, yes, things do go wrong, but at least you tried, and you tried to be unique and different. So you can't let the fear of failing stop you.
Just to echo to what Darcy said, if you do make a mistake, just own it, admit it, and move on. You have to forgive yourself for making the mistake, because I know that's hard. But when you do make a mistake, you just have to accept it, wear it, and move on. There's a difference between a mistake and an intentional mistake or trying to sabotage something. Mistakes happen every day. None of us are perfect. Nobody expects you to be perfect. Just own it, move on, do better next time.
I think a mistake that I made early in my career was I just tried to fit in to the industry. I dressed just like the guys, all black. Scouts usually wear like little dress shoes. And at tournaments, I was so intimidated at first because I didn't understand how tournament and scouting went, as far as I was watching a game and then a bunch of scouts would only watch one period and then move to a different game and then come back for the third. And I was really confused because I didn't really have anyone to look up to or ask. So I ended up leaving early. And I just felt like I always just tried to fit into the industry at first. And that was a mistake of mine. Now with the Erie Otters, I can feel like myself and express myself with how I dress and not worry about what other scouts are doing, just focus on what I'm doing at tournaments. I like to watch the full game. I don't like to go to different games like cycling. So just stay true to who you are and don't make the mistake of, following what everyone else is doing.
Another question that was submitted was how to maneuver working in an industry that has historically been male dominated, and how to prove yourself and work your way up the ladder.
I can take this one. I think for me specifically, I just feel like, especially starting out and sports in college, it's very male dominated, and Sean knows that as well. But I think when you get to work with people who are as great as Sean and so inclusive and really want you to succeed and push you, like Sean and I have been friends, putting him up on this pedestal right now, but Sean and I have been friends since college, and he is continuously supporting me. Like I got my role with the Coyotes. He was one of the first people to reach out to me. So I think a big part of it is surrounding yourself with people who want to lift you up, whether that's other females, whether that's males. And I think lately, like a lot of organizations are hiring more women, being more inclusive and like working towards that. And obviously today is International Women's Day. So we have like multiple events going on today, but if you are surrounded by executive team and like other friends in the industry that support you and want you to be the best you can be, I think that's huge. And then also I feel like you always have to look at it like, I kind of started out as like always having a chip on my shoulder. Like I needed to prove myself, work harder. But at the end of the day, I can only be who I am. And I like that version of me the best. I like being authentically me and not having to, have like imposter syndrome or be someone I'm not. But then through that, I feel like you just gain a lot of respect for people, have that backbone, know you can do their job as hard as they can. But I think it really comes back to who you surround yourself with, who your network is, and being around people that only want you to succeed and only want to lift you up too.
More lighthearted for you guys. What is your favorite part of the job?
I'll go ahead. For me, it's being able to interact with our fans. I've said before that working in sports is unique because people, when they walk in through those gates, it's because they want to be there. They paid their hard-earned money on a ticket. They're not getting forced to a doctor's appointment or a kid forced to go school shopping. They're there because they want to be entertained. So it's exciting to be able to welcome them and interact with them and give them a little bit of joy and fun way to start off their weekend most of the time.
Yeah, to kind of go off a little bit of what she just said, a lot of my favorite part is the relationships you build and the friendships you create. So when I came into hockey not knowing anyone, I truly knew no one. And so immediately within the office, made friends with my boss. And then from there, he introduced me to several people. And now I have lots of people I could call on for anything. But going off of what Ashley said earlier, finding those people that support you, finding those friendships that support you in your career, and not only people from the office, but fans and corporate partners as well. There's a lot of people out there that want to see you succeed as a friend. And I think those are the important people to kind of keep by your sides. That's probably my favorite part.
I would say my favorite part is just how much of a family you become with your staff. Like someone said before, like you're here usually all week long, don't get that many days off. You're here long hours and you really just start to become a part of this family. You go out after games to dinner and stuff like that. And it's just, I don't know, it's unlike anything other. I've worked a couple other jobs that weren't in the sport industry, and like, you don't want to go to the job. You don't really have friends there and stuff. And it's always fun coming into work and being with your family. So
coming from like the corporate. Oh, sorry, Jamie, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Okay. Coming from the corporate side of things, I really like getting to meet my corporate partners and spending time with them and helping grow their relationship with the team. A lot of the times we say, a lot of our corporate partners and fans even won't meet the Arizona Coyotes players, but they'll meet us. So to them, I am like their face of the Coyotes. So it's really interesting. It's really fun to grow those connections with them and then helping them succeed with their goals. There's certain activations we do. We get to honor a lot of special people at our games through our corporate partnerships and through their contracts and such. And we kind of get to be the face for them. And we are the Coyotes as far as they know. So it's really exciting to get to meet the fans, meet the corporate partners, and just kind of connecting them with the game of hockey.
And you also have to remember that even though you're working in sport, the game day environment for us is only 34 times a season. So you have to find joy in your day-to-day job and your activities and with the people that you're around, as everybody has said, to kind of bring it all together. It's very easy for me to say two of my greatest memories are our championships, but I've been here 22 years and we have two. So there's a lot of other time during the day and during the seasons where you have to find joy in those moments, whether it's the people you're working with, the events that you're doing, your corporate partners, your season ticket members. You have to find that joy in those events, not just on the time when you're having a game or a match or a championship, because those may be few and far between. So you have to find the joy in every day.
I'd probably say my favorite part of my job is, like everyone said, the organization. Like, we have such a great community and culture that we've built at the Otters. It truly feels like a big family. When I'm on the road all the time. I don't get to see my family much unless they meet me at the rink. So it's nice to see my fellow scouts at the rink and be able to contact other people in our organization and feel like, my second family. Another part that I like about my job specifically is projecting. When you're scouting U15 players, you have to not only project how they will play next year, but also in the league as well. So during draft time, it's pretty exciting seeing those players that you've watched all season long. And, when I watch them and then also next year, see them get drafted and how they pan out in the league.
What would be one piece of advice that you would have to a female just starting or looking to start in the sports industry?
I would say just reach out to someone. My doors are always open for young females trying to get into the industry. Taking them underneath my wing. I've had a couple actually reach out and I've been helping them try to get their foot in the door. And I think if you just reach out, and even to a female or a male, we have a lot of male allies now that will take you underneath their wing and show you the ropes. So just reach out. That's what my advice would be.
I would also, to piggyback on what Kiana said, I would also say differentiate yourself. This is a world of resumes and, the past few years, not necessarily face-to-face contact or interviews. So you have to be willing to differentiate yourself, whether that is in the clubs you participate in, the internships that you take, or just the other job experience and life experiences that you have, because you need something to stand out from the masses. And when you get the opportunity to be in front of people like ourselves that are doing the hiring, you have to really be your best advocate and tell people why you need to be a part of that organization and what you can bring them, and be your biggest champion.
I would personally say just get out of your comfort zone. That's one thing when I first started is I was scared to do interviews. I was scared to go up to coaches after games. But once I did that, that's when people started noticing and asking me to do other stuff. So don't be afraid to get out of your comfort zone. It's going to be uncomfortable. That's the point of it. But as you grow and you start to get into the sport industry, you're going to have more opportunities to get out of your comfort zone. And as you continue to do that, it just helps you grow and become a better professional and person.
If there are any other questions, now would be the time to put them in the chat. Otherwise, I want to thank all of you ladies for being a part of today's. Oh, we do have one from Isabel to Annie. How much work in the off season do you do? Is it a lot to prepare for the next season?
I can take it from like a corporate partnership standpoint. So the off season is our busiest actually, because by the time the season gets going, the games are in full force. Everything we activate, all of our signage, our community events, they're pretty much fully baked. So the off season is where our sales team really goes to work, bringing on new corporate partners, and then we take it there and start to activate. So the off season is really our busiest. During the season, we just make sure everything is going with the flow as it should be at the games and such. But during the off season is where we put in our hardest work on our end, on the corporate side.
For me, it's much slower compared to in season, just with so many games you're preparing for and working some days, 12 days a week, depending how the game schedule works. So in the off season, we almost have more of a typical 40-hour work week, whereas in season it can be like 60, and that's 60 hours a week, and that's normal. It is a lot of preparation, planning. It's meetings with the teams with our internal team to discuss promotions, upcoming events, how we want to lay out the schedule, and our promotions in game. So it's brainstorming, creative side, way less interaction with our fans, mainly just emails or phone calls here and there. But it's a little more lax. We do even sometimes cut down on our hours and kind of give us a chance to recharge for the upcoming season.
For us, we cut down on our hours and stuff, but we also kind of switch our focus. So in season, we of course are going to go very heavily on the marketing side, but then on the off season, we go very heavily on community events. So in the off season, we use that time to put ourselves in front of as many people as we can to get us ready for the next season, to have as many conversations with future partners or future season ticket holders, or just a fan that's never been to a hockey game before. Using that off season as kind of our time to really engage with fans that we would like to have come out to our games in the future.
Thank you guys again, seriously, for being part of today. It's been a tremendous opportunity for me to be able to hear from your perspectives, not having experienced them myself. And I think for the people who are watching, the people who are able to be part of today, I think it's tremendous. And especially knowing the diversity of roles that are out there and that you guys have been part of, and the journeys that you've been on. It's inspiring to see, and I'm excited to see what those next generation of women in hockey look like. So thank you, each of you, for being part of this, and look forward to, continuing to see what hockey and sport looks like by the time we meet for this next year.